What's going on, fam? Today we are going to install a cool little light bar from Moon's MC on the Street Bob. Let's get to it. Alright, first let's unbox this bad boy. Let's see what comes in the box. Little bag with the hardware brackets. And then that's pretty much it. Moon's MC. Let's see the bar. Alright, so this is going to be pretty cool. The wires are pretty much just two raw wires. Okay, so this means two things. One, we can either buy a wiring kit and harness it to the battery, or what I'm going to end up doing, we are going to splice this directly into the headlight. Yeah, that's what I'm going to end up doing. Alright, just so you know, moonsmc.com has a bunch of products like this. This is not a sponsored video. I just really like this light and I like a lot of their products, so I'm gonna end up buying quite a bit from them. Alright, so that's it. Hardware bracket and the light bar. Now this is specifically made for the Softail. So what I'm gonna do now is we're gonna take off the headlight off of the Street Bob, bring it here, and I'll show you guys how to splice that together. Alright, taking the headlight off is pretty simple stuff. Behind this rubber here you have all these harnesses. All those wires. So you take the wire from your headlight, you follow it all the way back, and it's going to be this one here. Unplug it, and now we're going to use an Allen bolt to take this off, and that's it. The headlight's off. Let's do it. Ta-da! Okay, it's quite simple. We're not going to remove anything out of the headlight itself. We are simply going to splice into this cable and bring it in right there. Now there are four cables here. And the yellow, there are 4 cables here, but the important one is the black one. That's going to be our ground cable, and the red one on the light is going to hook up to the one with the yellow, which is our high beam. As far as the brackets are concerned, let's have a look. Okay, so this obviously goes on the bottom of the triple tree. These go right here, something like that, with these screws on the back. We'll look at this later, but this isn't too rough. All right, so now since we're doing electrical work, you really want to have the proper tools for this type of stuff. So I do have a little box here with all my stuff, electrical stuff. Zip ties are always useful. These are heat wrappers. We may use these, we may not. Electrical tape, we will be using this. Soldering iron, we will be using the soldering iron for sure, because we're going to solder these wires together to make sure there is no chance that they're going to come apart, ever. This is the big one. This is the big wire splitter, because with this one we can strip these wires without having to actually cut the wires. You'll see how that works in a minute. We got the soldering stuff that we're going to need. So we don't want to take this entire cover for the wires off. We just want to splice in somewhere in the middle. Guessing right around here should do just fine. So what we're going to do is make a cut. Alright, now that we have wires properly exposed, let's plug into the ground wire. Okay, you see how that exposes the wire right there? And that's it. That's all we really need. Now we can tap into here. Then the yellow wire, the blue with the yellow, which is our high beam. Here we go. You want to do this slow to make sure that you get proper grip on these. Okay, so there we go. That's exposed. Now we gotta solder these wires into these. We do want to kind of wrap this around, and then we solder onto that. Now the way soldering works, if you're not familiar with it, essentially you get this type of metal-y stuff, and essentially what you're doing is this is getting really hot, and what's this? You're kind of just melting it. And once we have the solder on the wire, then we're gonna wrap it with some heat wrap or some electrical tape. Let's see if we're good. What we have is a metal bond between both wires. All right, now we come to the other wire. All right, so we got our wires there. Now, let me unplug the soldering iron before I bring this house down. So this is gonna sit like this with the triple tree in between. So now we wanna tape this real good. First, obviously the wires individually. All right, so while I tape this up here, just for the record, remember you can just buy a wiring harness for this. First, we're gonna tape each one individually, and then the other one. Now, how do I know the high beam is the yellow wire? I asked the master mechanic at Harley Davidson. By the way, a big shout out to everybody at Peterson's Harley Davidson. I no longer work there, but I spent some of the best months of my life working there. It was a ton of fun, and I love everybody there, and a big shout out. I will be going. I am, of course, a loyal customer, and I love them to death. All right, there we go. All right, so now, here we go. There's our wire harness. Let's just tape it up. There we go. Now I just want to show you all this, but obviously the bracket needs to go into the triple tree first, then clamp onto the light. But see here, comes with these little bolts. Here, see there's a square there, comes with a nut, which goes into there, and then this screw goes in. This is gonna be hard as all hell.
Much later.
Okay, so apparently Moon's MC did not make this very easy. Because as you see right here, and here, where these two holes are, a nut goes in there, these nuts, these nuts go in there, and then you're supposed to screw in the Allen screw through here and catch the nuts. However, that would be easier said than done if the bracket could go on and then screw onto the light, to the triple tree. But again, this has to go into the triple tree first, meaning after that's done, after this is hooked up on the bike, you gotta bring this up and screw it in. But that's gonna be hard as all hell. Now the good news is there does seem to be a groove in there, which would make it easy for this to fit in. It does just sit there. Okay, that's a good thing. There we go. All right, see how the two nuts are sitting there? So now, we put on the bracket, then we put the light on the bracket. All right, let's go back outside. All right, of course, first things first, let's plug in and test it out. Okay, we're plugged in. And the light works just beautifully. Now that it works, let's mount it up. And we want to disconnect it. The last thing we do is hook it back up. The first thing we do is we're going to put the headlight back on as normal, however, with this bracket on the very bottom. Let me get you guys to come look at it. You see the headlight bolt with the bracket is installed just as normal, but with this bracket in the way. Now we want to tighten that up. So now we want to present the light without bolting it in and make sure it's properly centered, and it is. Now let's figure out how the hell to put these bolts in the back.
A lot of boring math later.
Alright, this is becoming ridiculously hard, so I'm gonna see if I can manage to put on the bracket before the headlight. We'll see if that works. Okay, so I managed to get the bolts in there with the nuts. Now, I didn't tighten up enough to get this done, so now let's try to put the headlight on. Full thing, just as normal, with the bracket here and the bolt through. Okay, so I managed to get the bolts screwed here. I still need to tighten everything up, but I think we did it. Pro tip, get you a set of Allen wrenches that have the beveled head like this. The reason for that is because this Allen wrench you can use at an angle. See, I can be tightening this bolt at an angle here. I don't have to use it straight on. So pro tip, get you one of these. Anyway, let me finish screwing this and I'll show you guys when it's done. All right, there we are. We got it on. Now let's put the Memphis shaped fairing back on and turn it on. Let's see what this baby looks like. Boom. It's a lot of light and I love it. All right, Moon's MC, great product. Bit hard to install, but great product nonetheless. I love this light. All right,